Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about the Analects of Confucius 6.14, where we face the question, what makes a worthy government official? And spoiler alert, it is integrity. And we'll also learn that true integrity doesn't come from dramatic gestures like the ones we're used to in works of fiction, but instead they come from the tiny habits and the daily choices that we make. And without further ado, let's get started. 6.14. Ziyou was the steward of Wuchen. Confucius said, "Have you found any good men?" There is Tantai Mieming. He doesn't take shortcuts, and he never comes to my room unless it is on official business. Okay, so 2 characters to identify, and the first one is Ziyou. And okay, so he was one of the 10 core disciples of Confucius. I know I say that a lot, but there's only 10 and they are mentioned a lot in the Analects, which is why I say it so often. So yeah, one of the 10 core disciples of Confucius, and he was ranked in the literature category along with Zixia, who we consulted last time with 6.13. And he was a brilliant scholar of ritual and classical texts, and like it is mentioned here, he was appointed the chief magistrate of this, not the state, of the city, the walled city of Wuchen in the state of Lu, where Confucius is from. So it does say steward here, but I think the way that it was translated, we saw the word steward a long time ago, and chief steward in that context actually apply to someone who managed a household. But he doesn't manage a household here, and instead he is the one who controls, everything. He has the power over everything in the city of Wuchen. And basically he was just placed into this position. And Confucius comes along and asks him this actually very important question. This wasn't small talk by all means. And he just says, "Have you found any good men?" Confucius, by saying this, emphasizes the fact that the first and the most important duty of being the chief magistrate was finding worthy people, very virtuous people, and putting them in a government position. And the word that translates into good here isn't very specific. It's not very good. So the word that is translated into good here is de, and de means virtuous, virtue. So like the Dao De Jing, which is that one really renowned Taoist text. That's the same de, the Dao De. So that means someone who is virtuous, morally upright, and just worthy of, I guess, walking the way, or the proper way to live. So yeah, have you found any good men to serve as a government official? And Ziyou responds with, there is Tantai Mieming. Yep, that's a really long name, and there's actually quite a few people who have this 4-character name. Usually right now in the present, people usually have 3, and in the past, in the ancient dynasties, lots of people only had 2. So yeah, Tantai Mieming. So basically who this person is, he really was just a normal person living in the state of Lu, and he later became Confucius's disciple. And Ziyou really likes this guy, not in his external appearance. And actually, in the records of the Grand Historian, it's actually recorded that he was kind of unappealing, is probably the right way to put it, in his external appearance, which is why Confucius initially underestimated him, thinking that he wouldn't really be very talented. But in this chapter, in this passage, it shows that he definitely is capable, and which later allows Confucius to kind of apologize to him and say, "Oh, I shouldn't have judged you by your appearance." So that's a really fun story. But yeah, that's who he is, and he was a very, very morally upright person, as we will see. So he doesn't take shortcuts. Okay, so shortcuts. If you imagine it, it's a metaphor that's kind of like the narrow and unofficial little dirt path that cuts into private property to get to a destination. And people who take that are actually going against this, are violating the code, the law, mostly because they are trespassing private property. So that's a really nice metaphor for people who, again, cut corners. I believe we know a lot of people who actually do that, and they look for shortcuts and they will take it even when it's not really the best thing to do, and especially when there is this official paved path that you can go along to get to the same destination, which is also kind of a metaphor for the way, the dao, which actually does translate to the path, the right path to walk along on your journey of life. The Han Dynasty scholar Kong Anguo, and by the way, this is a really cool thing, but you might recognize the family name Kong because Kongzi, Confucius. So this guy, this Confucian scholar, was actually a direct descendant of Confucius, and that's how cool this family last name thing is for Chinese people. So basically, the Kong family, they still exist, and they're still direct descendants of Confucius, which is a really cool thing. So basically, this guy who, oh, my cat is playing. This guy who was studying Confucius wrote in the collected explanations of the Analects. Let's see, what did he say? To not walk by paths means he only takes the upright official road. He does not seek petty shortcuts. So this commentary says a lot about Tantai Mieming's character. So he never takes an unethical shortcut, and he always chooses the hard right over the easy wrong, like we've talked about before. And he also never cuts corners just to get to the destination faster or gain an advantage or save time or anything like that. So he will always take the correct path, no matter how long it is, even if it's longer and even if no one's watching. Okay, on to the next part. He never comes to my room unless it is on official business. So, in the spring and autumn period, which is when this event occurred, more junior officials would often go to the private residence of their superiors in order to beg them for some kind of advantage, or even to gain a more personal relationship again, just for their own benefit or their external gain. While Tantai Mieming never goes to Ziyou's private residence unless is on official business. And this is where the public integrity part comes in. Unlike the other tiny officials, Tantai Mieming doesn't try to get something from his superior, aka Ziyou, and he doesn't mix personal relationships with work, and by doing this, he is only relying on his work. He's letting his work speak for himself in order to move up, and rather than just flattering his boss. So for Confucius, small choices like these are the true measure of a person's character, because at the end of the day, anyone can pretend to have some kind of virtue in public, maybe once or twice, or maybe just in public. But only gentlemen, aka Confucius's idea of the ideal person, only these really virtuous people, only they can uphold integrity or uphold any virtue for a very long time, even when no one's watching. Alright, and one more thing before you go. In 6.13, let me remind you what that is again. The master said to Zixia, be a gentlemanly ru, don't be a petty ru. Just to connect these together, again, a ru is a scholar and a master of the rites and the rituals of the Zhou dynasty. So, Tantai Mieming was a great example, as shown here, of the gentlemanly scholar. And that's because he never compromises his moral virtues and principles for just for a better job or something. Yeah, and he never takes shortcuts. And he upholds integrity, which is probably, arguably, the most important virtue that a government official can have. And yeah, that'll be all today, and I will see you in the next one. I hope you learned something, and yeah, have a nice day. Bye.